you doing? This is Frank with Frankly Horse Racing, and we're going to take a quick look at the 2025 Preakness, which is the 150th version. We're going to look at Beyer's numbers, then we'll look at Timeform, and then I'll give you my selections. It's a mile 3/16, which I believe is the same as the Louisiana Derby. So let's get right into it. Number one is Goal Oriented. Goal Oriented is coming from Santa Anita, then Churchill, ran on Derby Day. He ran a couple Beyers of 91, so he's padded. He's kept about the same number, which is great. Going to two different tracks, two different distances. His last race, it appeared like he ran pretty nicely on that front end and really never was threatened at that point after he got the lead. Number two is Journalism. His Beyer numbers and his class numbers overall are quite a bit higher than anybody else in this race. There's no doubt who's going to be the favorite in this race. So if we're looking at the Beyers now, then we're looking and seeing that he is at a 102 off his last two, and he had a 108 before that. So he's actually kind of leveled off. The biggest question is he going to take another jump up, or is he coming back a little bit too quick? But Beyer-wise, we'll look through the others, but I'll just tell you now, Beyers-wise, he is by the far the fastest horse in this race. So I'm not telling you anything nobody can see. Over here, these numbers, as I said before in some of my other videos, are my dad's numbers that he came up with in the 70s. So they're kind of old school, and they're with the purple around the red numbers. I do them by hand and then send this to my father so he doesn't have to do them. But basically, I'm just trying to find out what the top end that they can run. So you can see Goal Oriented at 6 furlongs ran a decent 194. Journalism has a couple in the 190s, so that's what I'm looking for is a pattern. And even popped a 202 back here at Los Al. But Beyer number-wise, he is definitely the strongest. Number three is American Promise. American Promise did shoot a 95 at Colonial and in December on the slop at Oaklawn. But in between there, a couple mid-80s. To me, his Beyer numbers are up and down, not really trustworthy. If he gets the absolute right setup, and I think in a weaker field, maybe he can return to that 95, but that's just not high enough for what I'm seeing to be competitive for the win. Doesn't mean I'm right on those, because last year I didn't think the winner should have won if you were looking at just the numbers. But handicapping is more than just numbers. Heart of Honor, that one I don't know a whole lot about. I can watch the races. He looks very competitive. He runs good. I've heard the Beyer probably would have been in the 93, 94, tops 95 range from those races. I personally don't care for him at all. Maybe if I'm doing a superfecta, I'll throw him in there, but otherwise, not much more. He has to beat me, and since we're looking at Beyers, before we look at the Timeform numbers after this, I'm going to go ahead and say pass for me. Then we've got Pay Bill. Pay Bill is a local horse, would be a great story, and he always runs. He's always on the come. You know, he does a good job. He gets decent Laurel numbers, even by my dad's ratings. Laurel tends to be a little inflated on occasions there, so on my dad's numbers. So I always maybe tick him down a few in my head. Beyers wise, he's topped out at an 85, and that is just probably not going to get the job done. But there's nothing saying he can't hit a try or a superfecta. So a local horse I would definitely keep in mind for this race. River Thames is the next one. Ran against Sovereignty, gave him a really good run. There was a big run-up distance in that race. John Stetton, Pick6 King, pointed that out, or otherwise I probably wouldn't have caught it on there. So he had Sovereignty all the way to the edge, and it was actually not that normal run-up distance. Heck, he might have pulled it off. And then he took a little drop backwards in the next race at Keeneland in the Bluegrass. They went a little bit further. He did stalk that time. He's going to have to do that probably again this time. But he's got IRAD, and even by my dad's numbers, he shot a pretty high one. So I think River Thames clearly is one that you got to look out for. And I think he's still improving and has had time off. But he's topped out at a 95. The good thing you say about him is he is consistent. You pretty much know what you're going to get out of him. Let's move on to Sandman. Sandman on the other side of that, being consistent, as you can see from his Beyers numbers anyway, he's kind of up and down. 89, 92, 89, 99, 87. Does that mean he's going to run a better race this time? I mean, I expect he would. He's got a lot of speed, or enough speed setting him up for this race. If he can get a clean run, because I think the way he runs the movie just is immature to me. But if he can get a clean run, like he did in this Arkansas Derby race, which set up beautifully for him, but he still had to go out and do it. He did pop a huge number, Beyer-wise and my dad's numbers. So I know he can do it. Just which Sandman's going to come up. He's still going to need to take another improvement to catch, like journalism, on the Beyer's numbers. But I think the race sets up for him, but he's so inconsistent. But we're looking right now and just looking at a few things like Beyer numbers. So in that aspect, he's a player. Okay, next one is Clever again, who has the second best Beyer number at a 101 at Oaklawn at a flat mile. The great thing about that mile at Oaklawn, if you watch that track, it's got a short stretch to the wires. So if you can get out front and you're cruising, you've got a really nice shot at winning the race. That being said, that's exactly what he did. However, he worked to get to that lead, and once he did, it never looked like he was going to lose that race, even to Gaming, who was the hard favorite there, one of Bob Bafford's horses. This horse has run only 3 times. The 4.5 furlong, they don't even give Beyers on it because it's too short, but he went from an 87, took a huge jump to a 101. A lot of times they'll come back on that, but he's got a great running style for this. He's bred to run all day long. And I think they're going to have to get to the lead and then just see how far he can go. If they let him sit on a comfy lead, they could be in trouble. But my dad's number, he broke the 200 barrier, and that's pretty sporty. Although a 30-point jump, whether it's Beyers or by my dad's numbers, a lot of times they take a bounce. And then we've got Gosger, number 9. When I watched that race, I really liked how he won it. It was very professional. And, when I saw the number on it, it was quite a bit lower than what I was thinking. I thought it'd be maybe in the low 90s on this number. So the Lexington wasn't very fast, but he's improving, and that's what you're looking for, a 3-year-old improving race. He's got great breeding, and he's got a good style for today. I think he's got to take a huge jump because he's topped out at an 88. He would have to jump quite a bit to even be competitive. So I like this horse, and I think he could be a great horse later in the year. I love the way he runs. He's a try-and super horse to me by the Beyers numbers, and just overall taking a look at him. Now, let's take a flip, if I can bring this up real quick, and we're going to look at the races on the Timeform side. There we go. Let's bring this over, and we'll make it a little bit wider. All right, let's go to the Timeform. So number 1 is goal-oriented on Timeform. He went from a 107 to a 112. A 107 is a pretty good number on his first out. And if you watch that race, man, he didn't look like he had a chance halfway through. Now, the blue on Timeform says, yep, it was a closing day for the most part. Not a heavy closing day, but a closing day. And that's exactly what he did. But he didn't look great back there. And he still came on and won pretty nicely. Then they moved him out on Derby Day. And he looked really good in the slop at Churchill Downs. He just got up and beat Hypnus, who was coming, but I really don't think it was even close to him getting beat in that race. But he gets a 112 out of that. So I see an improvement off his first race, and I expect another step forward in his third race if it's not too quick coming back. Number 2 is Journalism. Journalism, as you can see, this is last year, if you can see my mouse, the Los Al race. He was improving 3 straight races into that one. He took his break, comes back at 3-year-old, and he really stepped up. Man, he shot a nice number in the San Felipe, as we all know and saw. And then he comes back in the Santa Anita Derby. We saw that race pretty close, a 119. He did take a bit of a step backwards in the Derby, Timeform number-wise. But number-wise, it's still pretty solid. He's within a few points of each other. But the question is this trend continue to go backwards, or was it just situational? You've got 20 horses going and you're bumping. I still think, Timeform-wise, as we're seeing, he's going to be pretty darn tough in that race. And I trust McCarthy. He's a great trainer. Number 3 is American Promise. American Promise again, we saw over there, it's the same thing over here. He's kind of up and down if you're looking at his Timeform numbers here to the right. He did shoot that big 118 at Colonial, but again, I've been doing this long enough. Those numbers are normally inflated at Colonial. Doesn't mean he can't come back and run to that, but they're normally inflated, and that 118's pretty inflated, and he didn't come back and run very well in the Derby. He did press hard, and most everything fell apart there. So we'll see. I think they'll try to get him to the lead. When he does, he runs pretty good, but I don't think he can be as fast as a couple others in here. So American Promise is not a player to me, and he may surprise like Lucas's horse last year. This is Heart of Honor, and they do give Timeform numbers from overseas. His top one was last time on a 103. A lot of times, to me, those Timeform numbers are get a little bit higher when they give him a European number versus here. To me, I'm going to put that about 100. But let's say it's 103, or even I give it a couple points to a 105. He's still not, if he runs these numbers, in the ballpark, to me, to even be competitive for the win or the place in this race. Let's move on to number 5. Number 5, ridden by Raul Mena. He is improving. This is a nice pattern. A 99, a 103 to a 105. They are all local. They're all at Laurel. We talked about them in the other ones. And he always runs this year. If you're looking, he's got a first, a second, a first. So he is definitely going to be a horse that I would use in my tries and my supers. I do not think he's even close to being fast enough to win this race. It'd be a great story, however, but I would definitely use him in tries and supers. River Thames is number 6, and he is the closest one, as you can see, to number 2, Journalism, in the Timeform numbers. And what I love about it is he had shot a nice 110 in his first run this year in January, and then he took a step backwards even though he won, which isn't uncommon. But he went from 6 furlongs to a mile to a mile 16th, and improved again. And as you can see, I have little notes on here. That's a good practice. Take notes on horses if you're really serious about getting better at this game. You'll end up finding something or seeing something for a next race that you really want to use. It comes in handy for you. But anyway, his next race out in the Bluegrass, it was one that Burnham Square came from the back and won, as I said before. Really liked Burnham that day. But he hung in there well, and they really tried to see if he couldn't stalk the pace, and the pace was pretty fast, right? Anything in red is going to be pretty fast, and he even hit a 110 at the 6 furlong mark in that race. So I think he's improving. I think he's a threat with his numbers. Let's go on to Sandman. Sandman's one that I talked about even with the Beyers. He's so up. If we look at all these numbers to the right, he's just up and down. He's got a JV's getting him instead of Jose Ortiz. His last race, let's say we even throw a line through that Kentucky Derby. I think he's just too immature to get through all that. He did shoot a high 118. As you can see, those numbers were crazy fast on the front end. And it's set up, but he had to do it. As I said before, he came and did it. But that 118 is so much higher than anything else he's ever run. The next closest was 111. I definitely think he's there in the trifecta. Could get second. Heck, if the pace is fast enough and Journalism doesn't win, then he's got a good enough number on the close to absolutely maybe have a chance in this race. I just don't trust him because he's so inconsistent in the Timeform numbers. Let's move on to Clever Again. Clever Again's got a great pattern. Young, only 3 races. I guess they're all young, right? He is a February foal, so he's a little younger than a couple. But his first race out, again, 67. It's a 4.5, so you don't really look at that if you're looking at Timeform numbers for this. But now let's take a look. He's out of Galileo, a mare that has Galileo, American Pharaoh. He's improved both races this year, and the 7-point jump's pretty good. And he really controlled that race against Gaming. So if he takes another step, it puts him right in the ballpark of Journalism or Sandman's way top or River Thames. So he's definitely got a shot. Gosger is a horse that I really thought, again, as I said in the Beyer side, it'd be a little bit higher off that Lexington race. But I love the way he did it. I got to believe this horse is improving still. And when you've got Saez and Walsh together, you got to keep an eye on those two. To me, he's a place to show horse or superfecta horse. But I just wanted to go over the numbers on all of them so you can see and give a little bit of what I'm seeing. Again, I look for different things like Clever again. Great jockey trainer combo there. Same thing with Gosger. But here I'm looking for who I think the best horses, because you're getting good jockeys. Who's on the improve? Who's got a good pattern? I really think Clever again's got a great pattern. Gosger is pretty good. He's just a little slower so far. Sandman's up and down. River Thames is on a fantastic pattern. He's padded two pretty close together. Had some time off. He's got Irad, and he's got Pletcher. So he's going to take some money, but he's also going to look pretty good. So those are the ones that I had here. We'll end it on journalism again, where he topped out at a 121. But if you look at the 117, 119, that puts him pretty close to River Thames, and even Sandman the one time. I'd like to see more than one, but he ran up there. So let's bring up the old spreadsheet, and this is what I'm looking at here for the 150th Preakness Stakes. Widen that out just a smidge. And so this is what I got. Goal-oriented, his top Beyer is 91. His top Timeform is 112. I see him as improving. Journalism, his top is a 108 over here, but his most recent is a 102. Is he coming back too soon? That's my question. American Promise. He did get a 109 on his top and a 95 on his top. Of course, that was the Colonial. To me, man, unless it's really sloppy, maybe he has a chance. He did throw a pretty good number to Oaklawn in that high slop number. But I don't care for him at all. Heart of Honor, don't really know, but I think he's got to run faster than he did it in Europe. Pay Billy's local. I just don't see it. He's not even in the ballpark. River Thames, a 95 on Beyers, 117 Timeform. Sandman, a 99 and a 118. So they're definitely players. And then you got these two improving horses that are coming up. Now they're going to have to take a big step in the race. So at this point, I guess everybody's wondering, well, all right, you've thrown all these numbers around, and what the heck do you think about this race? Well, I think, like most people, if he runs his race and it's not too late, I think, although I do see I spelt journalism wrong, I apologize about that. But the people that know me, that's really not anything that's off for me misspelling something. Journalism is the best horse. He's got the best class. I think he's going to be fantastic if he's not too tired, and I think he's going to be hard to beat in that aspect. But I do think that River Thames and Sandman have a great shot because they're improving. But I'm going to go out on a limb and not pick the easy one, Journalism, who, if he runs his race, he wins. But otherwise, let's go ahead and type in here. I'm going to take River Thames and see if he can get the distance. Next, I'm going to do Journalism. How about I spell it right this time? Right? There we go. And then after that, then I've got kind of an equal amount. I think that Sandman's got a chance. I love Clever again. I love goal-oriented and on the improve. And if one of them pops up and wins, I won't be surprised, because you never know how the races are actually going to be run pace-wise, or what the jockey is going to do. It looks like it's going to be a lot of front speed, but somebody might pull back, and if a goal-oriented or a Clever, again, for sure, gets on the lead and rolls, man, I tell you what. But I'm definitely going to put Clever, again, in here as my third pick, and then everybody else I'll use as my supers or tries, whatever it might be. So that is what I see for this year's Pimlico, the 150th version of the Preakness Stakes. And so there it is. I'm going to go out on a limb and say River Thames. I'm going to give him a shot of beating Journalism and over Clever again. I hope everybody likes this video, took something out of it that maybe can help you with your handicapping, or for you to decide. And again, remember, just because you pick something today, when it gets to game time, take a look at the track, see how things are playing, or even how a jockey's riding, and you might have to make a change on game day, like I did from Journalism to Sovereignty on the Derby day. So have a great one. We'll talk to you soon. This is Frank with Frankly Horse Racing. Bye-bye.